Hey guys, it's been a shitty day for the old Ramon. But I have to do something. I might not have another video for a while, just because, well, my house is kind of being taken over, and I'm not gonna have the privacy to give you the full-on crazy rants that you deserve and that I deserve to give you. But here goes. This is a story, ironically related to the reason that I'm not going to be able to give it to you, but I can't tell you. It's kind of like an inside joke between me and me. But I saw this article earlier this morning from Real Clear Politics. If you don't know, the website is realclearpolitics.com, and they feature a lot of good what's the word? Collections of articles from all over the political sphere. Now, I don't think they really feature enough alternative media. They do feature Zero Hedge, which is very interesting. I actually discovered Zero Hedge from there, but they actually feature sometimes City Journal, which is more, I think it's a more conservative journal related to the Manhattan Institute, which is a New York conservative think tank, and it's called this article is called Blue Texas, and I'm going to post the link. And basically, what this article deals with is the issue that why is Texas one of the greatest economic engines in the country? Because they have a very low taxation model. They're against taxation. They're against they're for giving business as much rope as possible to function, not to hang themselves. And they call it the Texas model. But there are a lot of pockets of Texas that are growing into liberal fiefdoms, liberal little kingdoms of liberalism. And the most famous one, in case you've been living under a rock, is Austin, the capital. Austin is the site of the University of Texas flagship campus, UT Austin, where you have South by Southwest, and you have one of probably the most developed hipster culture in the smallest possible area. I know that Portland has a crazy one. I know that Seattle has a crazy one. More about Seattle, hopefully, in an upcoming video, if I have enough time today and I don't get interrupted by somebody. We're not home yet, but this is going to be a lot harder to do these videos. But anyway, let me talk about Texas. It says here, in Austin, the state capital, the state council recently voted 10-1 to grant $200,000 in emergency funding to provide legal assistance to illegal immigrants. This is in the capital of Texas, one of the states most harmed by illegal immigration, both in terms of crime and in terms of the economy and in terms of the general lack of security. So you still have a city, the state capital, where for some reason people think it's okay to defy the very authority of the state government that's in their own city. It's really the definition of the leftist refusal to acknowledge that the law applies to them too. I'm not a great fan of following the law all the time, but I try to do it because I don't want to get into trouble. And if I did get into trouble, I'd probably have to eat the penalty. Everybody's trying to weasel out of it, but to try to weasel out of it while it's actually your job to enforce it, that's not really being a rebel. And that's what these liberals are doing, especially the ones in the city of Austin. It says the one council member who spoke out against the measure, Ellen Troxler, was accused of racism and admonished by her colleague Sabino Renneria. We opened our arms to the Europeans when they came into Texas and Mexico, is what Renneria said. The area surrounding Austin, Travis County, is also dominated by liberal officials. For example, despite the objections of Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Travis County Sheriff Sally Hernandez recently announced that she will know. So anyway, it's talking about a sheriff. I'm not going to read this article verbatim, but there are sheriffs in Texas that aren't going to enforce immigration protocols. It says here that Austin Independent School District sent a flyer telling students how to avoid ICE and immigration customs and excise, which enforces our immigration laws. These are they don't have any regard to prayers. There was another article where there's another issue where a Attorney General of Texas tried to force a school district to make a prayer room non-exclusive to Muslims, meaning that anybody could pray there. And it was reported as being Islamophobic in the state press. And you have to understand that even though the people of Texas, Texas has overwhelmingly voted conservatively, but whether it's Republican or Democrat, forever. It's never been a liberal state. It never will be a liberal state. There was one liberal governor, her name was Ann Richards. She got kicked out of office after going on some sort of drunken rant where she basically told women or young college co-eds that men are untrustworthy and that they themselves just shouldn't be foolish enough to trust them or something like that. It was back in the 90s. And since then, Texas has been steadily going red. Much, much redder than it used to be. The Democratic Party in Texas is a joke. It's a joke. But this article is bringing attention to the fact that there is a growing basically liberal counterculture in Texas. It says here, Governor Greg Abbott has previously warned that untrammeled and piecemeal regulation by Texas's Democrat-controlled cities would Californiaize the Lone Star State, and he is pushing to maintain state supremacy over local authorities, noting that the country is not called the United States of municipalities. So anyway, why am I bringing this up? It's not just about Texas. I like the state of Texas. I've never been there. People make fun of me for it because I'm a huge Dallas Cowboys fan, and because I have some sort of weird accent. It's not a Southern accent. I just have a weird accent. Even though I've never been, it's not even, I just talk like this. I don't know how I started doing it. I think probably because I was like goofing around one day. This was back when I was a kid, and I just started talking like this. And, so I don't really have anything I don't have anything at stake. There's nothing I gain out of supporting the state of Texas, okay? Except for, the flag. Good old silver and blue. But basically the problem is that we have states that they become successes. How do they become successes? By adopting pro-business principles. That's how California became a success originally with Silicon Valley. That's how, also because of cheap land. So let's not forget that. That's not related necessarily to state policies always. You have Michigan became a success due to the auto industry. It wasn't a very highly regulated state back in the early 20th century when the auto industry started booming. That's how Michigan became successful. It didn't become successful when they started adding regulations and union requirements and all that. It started to fall apart because of that. You could look at any of these states. There's even if you watch Sticks, Hex, and Hammer, and I have watched his channel for a while. He talks about how Vermont has a conservative heartland. All the states in the Union have a conservative heartland, but the urban areas are usually liberal. And in fact, I was listening once to Mark Levin, a host on the Salem radio network. Sometimes his show is pretty good, even though he kind of flies off the handle. And basically, New Hampshire was once one of the more solidly conservative states, and gradually it became more and more liberal. How did that happen? It's a very simple process. When there's job growth in a state, you'll have the more educated people migrate to that state and make it their home. And in Texas, which has a booming economy and just keeps sprouting jobs like crazy, you have that type of there's just a draw all over the Lone Star State, from the DFW area to Houston, San Antonio, San Marcos, all those urban areas or mid-sized cities, they're a draw for young professionals. And what are most young professionals? Unfortunately, they're very liberal or progressive in their worldview, and that's how Texas became the epicenter of this new South by Southwest culture and a lot of other year-round experiences. Marfa, Texas, which is a fruity art community out in the middle of nowhere. That's the way it is, and it's ironic that liberals try to portray the conservatives as intolerant when in reality you see them moving into the conservative states and trying to take them over. Nobody tells them you can't live here, and that's what happened in New Hampshire. A lot of people, not only do they flee, not only are they coming to conservative states because of the job creation, they're also often the liberal seniors will move to a conservative state because of the lower tax structure. That's why so many liberals from New York moved to, you guessed it, Florida. Florida has never been a super liberal state. There is a liberal community down there, down in the South Beach area, down in Miami-Dade County. But the majority of the state is pretty much conservative area. I mean, there's pockets here and there. There's what is it, St. Petersburg and all that. It's not as if the state's uniformly one or the other. I'm just saying that by and large, a lot of these states are almost Alabama-like in the rural areas. Okay, it doesn't matter. They may have a very large urban area. The New York State has New York City. They account for a huge portion of New York's population. But upstate, you have a massive group of counties that are basically rural and not necessarily well developed. The people there have a lot of the same cultural traits as Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is the same thing. They have Pittsburgh and Philadelphia. There's a lot of they have coal country. That's the way it is. Now, so a lot of these people, they'll spend their entire lives making their own state, let's say New Jersey or New York or Massachusetts. And this is what Levin was talking about. They're making them have these crazy tax structures, and they tax everything. They tax the air practically. I have a friend who moved to California. That's like the big saying there. And they just keep taxing and taxing because they're adding social spending. I think California has its own version of Medicaid that's independent of our Medicaid. And they'll just keep doing it, needle exchanges, all these different progressive ideas. And they keep taxing and raising the level. And who leaves? The very same white liberals that advocated for those policies, because they start to realize I'm not taking home as much, or my investments I'm not clearing enough. So they'll move to a state like Georgia. They'll move to a state like Texas. Texas has no state income tax. Everything is sales. Everything is sales over there. So you're seeing basically the liberals voting with their feet when it comes to their own economic interest. And then they'll move to that state. They'll move to Texas. They'll move to New Hampshire. It already happened in New Hampshire a long time ago. New Hampshire has a very weak Republican culture now because they're just outnumbered. They don't have the numbers anymore. All those, Nashua and all those larger urban areas in New Hampshire, which are not that large if you really think about it. New Hampshire's largest urban center is probably smaller than Syracuse. That's their they've never been big enough to really resist a so-called invasion of liberals. So the liberals will come in and basically they import all of the stupid ideas that they left behind in Massachusetts and New Jersey and Connecticut and everywhere else. And that's the problem. That's what happened here in Ohio. And I think the wheel has made a revolution since then. People have rejected in Ohio that type of politics, and they've sort of gone to the other. They might end up going to the other extreme soon. I don't think they already have, but because there's still a sizable progressive minority in Ohio. but they're just the majority of the counties in Ohio that used to be moderate Democrat have completely stopped really coming out to support it. Mahoning County and wherever Dayton is, and the Democratic Party's weakness here is due to its failure, and it will happen it might happen in other states. I'm hoping though that the people of Texas will start to really fight this trend that's going on over there, because yes, they're a success economically, but a weird side effect of that success is that you're getting people that are going to do anything possible to end that success. That includes illegal immigrants, by the way. The illegal immigrant population there, the more they bring in, and the more these Texas liberals try to normalize that, you're going to see a huge just a development of a parallel state there. It already happened with the clock boy trying to squeeze money out of his school district. That's the problem with trusting the liberal system to really behave equitably. They just come in and they import all the fucked up, retarded nonsense that they left behind in their home state. And that's it for this video. This is Ramon with Bold Like a Leopard. You can follow Bold Like a Leopard at Chef Leopard on Twitter, at Chef Leopard on Facebook, or facebook.com/Chef Leopard, startingleopard.blogspot.com for my personal blog. I'm also going to try to write a few more for Excalibur Report, and then there is also vid.me. You can find me there, also Chef Leopard. This is Ramon with Bold Like a Leopard, and we'll see you around the bend.